Hello everyone and welcome back to my solo playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Trilogy. In this episode we'll be finally going to the city of Baldur's Gate and doing a few housekeeping things. To be quite honest, we don't get a ton done in this episode, but it's a lot of things that are necessary in order to advance the story and to get to the places where we need to be. One of the most important things that I do in this episode is I pick up several scrolls, several potions, especially once we get to Sorcerer's Sundries in the city of Baldur's Gate itself. There was recently a post about how overpowered potions are on the Baldur's Gate subreddit, and I didn't know that was like an uncommonly known thing. I thought everyone knew that potions were just stupid, especially in this game where you can just stack them up and become a god.
Not a problem.
To be quite honest, the lack of potions was the most difficult part of soloing Icewind Dale Heart of Winter. I accidentally, I won't spoil anything for you, but in one
Not a problem.
facet of the story, there's a sub-quest that has a merchant that ends up being a bad guy. And I accidentally killed him before I bought everything I needed. Primarily a bunch of invisibility potions. Because as you've seen me do in the Deveorn fight, or against the Battle Horrors, you saw me drink an invisibility potion, chug a bunch of health potions, and then go back to fighting. It's kind of a cheesy way to beat the game, but if you don't have magic, often you need to rely on your potions to get stuff done and to not die in that specific instance. Invisibility potions are fantastic, and I think you'll see me use several of them to great effect before this playthrough is done of Baldur's Gate 1.
With ease. Hi, friend.
So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about Siege of Dragonspear as the announcement came out a few days ago, and I watched all the Q&As and all that stuff. But first, I'd like to, just touch on what I'm going to be doing in the gameplay here. I'm a little lost when it comes to Baldur's Gate, the city. I don't know it as well as the first parts of the game up until this point. I get a little lost, so you'll see me do some unnecessary things, do some unnecessary dialogues. And you'll also start to see me skip a lot of things because in this episode we hit the XP cap, and there's really no reason to do anything except bum rush the ending. That is, of course, unless you guys want to see something specific. For instance, there's a wisdom tome in what is the tower? Durlag's tower. There's a wisdom tome there. There's a charisma tome down near the Knoll Stronghold. A few other useful items and things that you might want to know about. I have grabbed all of those things in previous playthroughs that I have on YouTube, but let me know if you want to see any of that.
It will be done.
I also do a few quests in this,
With ease.
mostly just to show, and partially from muscle memory or just habit. I do a few quests that are worth quite a bit of XP and gold, just for the fun of it, because I like the game. You'll also start to see me not pick up nearly as many magical items because I'm nearing the point where money is worthless. I really don't think I have anything left to buy in the entirety of the game. Aside from the occasional potion or scroll, but I can't think of anybody who would have anything worthwhile. I think perhaps you can buy things from Tethril once you go to Candlekeep, I'll have to check on that once I get there. But I mean, I have 40,000 gold, which in this game is a huge amount. In this episode, I also finish up my items. I grab the Helm of Baldur, and I grab Ring of Protection +2. I grab the Intelligence Tome, a Wisdom Tome, the Dexterity one, which you just saw me grab from the Thieves' Stronghold. So really, the only thing left to do if you are intending to use this as a guide and bring a character into Baldur's Gate 2 is to go to Candlekeep, bum rush that, and grab the Strength Tome out of one of the crypts in the first area of the Candlekeep. Is crypt the right word? Tomb, mausoleum? A few of those scrolls I don't think I'm going to need, like the protection from fire particularly I probably won't need. But I picked it up just in case. I know the lightning one comes in handy because right before you go and fight Sarevok, there's that maze that has tons and tons of lightning bolt traps, and it gets really annoying, nearly dying walking through there, having to pause, drink potions, that kind of stuff. This is the first time I've actually done it on any playthrough, so we'll see if it works out. I'd imagine it'll be great. Now, from what I understand, there's also a Cloak of Baldur. I don't know how to get that. I've never learned how to get that.
It will be done.
But I'm fairly content with my Cloak of Displacement. The improved saving throws are great. Really, the only other item that I could see being useful is the Golden Girdle, but I don't know where to find that either. I know it's somewhere out in the world, but I don't know where to find it. And it would only be useful against Sarevok because he does do slashing damage. I believe he has a two-handed sword or a bastard sword. It's hard to tell.
Stop picking your nose.
But as you can expect, I'm pretty excited for Siege of Dragonspear. I think every Baldur's Gate fan is. Even if it's not as good as the originals, which I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to live up to it. But even if it's not, I think it'll be a great time. It's like, let me collect my thoughts for a second. I guess it seems pretty rare that people are coming into Baldur's Gate being introduced to it by the enhanced editions. Most of the time we grew up playing these. I mean, I watched my dad play these over his shoulder, annoying him with little questions, trying to tell him, oh, you should drink that potion, you should use this spell. And then finally he bought a new computer, gave me his hand-me-down. He's like, alright, go to your room and play it for yourself. So that's how I was introduced to these games back when they were new. And I think that's a fairly common story. So we have this nostalgia for this franchise, and the enhanced editions have really allowed the vision that we have of these games in our minds to be true. Because if you go back and try to play Baldur's Gate, the non-enhanced edition, now, it feels very clunky, outdated. Hell, I don't think it supports anything more than 800 by 600 resolution, and it has compatibility issues with new drivers and operating systems. It's really not aged as well as you'd think it would. But the enhanced editions have really, you know, allowed the game to live up to what our mind's eye see these games as. Now this was kind of interesting in the gameplay here. I went to this area on the north side of that central wall in Baldur's Gate, and I assumed that I would get to the western part of that area where the Elfsong Tavern is, but apparently the only way you can get to that dumb area is going through the one where the Mage Tower is in the Duke's Palace. But I think it'll be a lot of fun to go back and experience the story, see new dialogue with the characters that we've loved for years and years. And it'll force me finally to play with a party through Baldur's Gate 1. And I'm not sure if I'll... I mean, if I wanted to be cheesy, I could take one of these characters that I've soloed through that are max level with, you know, all the metagame items and stuff. I could re-import him down into Candlekeep, have an ultra powerful character, so I have all the benefits of soloing through Baldur's Gate 1 and still have the party interaction. But I think what I'm going to do is end up just, you know, playing through the game again and playing as a party, playing as if it was my first time. Well, maybe not my first time, but playing with a group, listening to the dialogues, paying attention to the little banters and the magic of the game, really.
Not a problem.
One of my only concerns for Siege of Dragonspear is the new user interface that they're introducing. I'm all for innovation, but I would almost like to see their new interface be able to be toggled off. Just because if you're like myself, you're so used to these old
Not a problem.
this old interface that, you know, it'd be weird to play the game with anything else.
It will be done. With ease.
I'm also toying with the idea of playing Baldur's Gate 1 as a challenge run. Like for instance, I would take a level 1 character and try to beat the entire game as level 1.
Make you dead and done.
Solo, of course. You'll see the crowd control gets me in this fight, and I say screw it. I got a berserk earlier, and then the second time I do this, it's no problem at all. You kind of got to be careful of this fight if you're playing with a party.
You need something, stranger. You need something, stranger. I'll crush your face, I will. Make you dead and done.
It looks like that group's worth about 4,000 XP in total, though. That's quite good. I don't know why I bothered to pick up all this gold. But as you can see, they don't give any real benefits aside from that battle axe. I believe that's a +2.
Not a problem. With ease.
I've also been considering playing through the game with a party, which is weird for me because I've been playing them by myself for so long, like as a solo character. It would be weird to have to share XP, not be as powerful at quite as early, having to rely on more than one character. But it would also allow me to play as different classes that I've never tried before. For instance, I think an Avenger Druid would be pretty cool. Especially since he gets some of the more useful utility spells and damaging spells from the mages. It really allows you to round out your spell book. I also think it'd be kind of fun to play as a bard. I've done a solo with a blade through Baldur's Gate 2, and I think I either quit or got stuck on Throne of Ball somewhere. I probably got stuck, but I think it'd be fun to play a bard, just because it saves you money or level 1 spell slots because you don't have to identify anything, you just know what everything else. I'm trying to think. I don't think Baldur's Gate 1 or Baldur's Gate 2 Enhanced Editions have the really cool new bard stuff from the Icewind Dale Enhanced Edition, but I'd imagine that would get updated once Dragonspear comes out.
With ease. It will be done.
Bards have always been the most disappointing class to me in Baldur's Gate. Pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons, they're a lot of fun and they have a lot of utility, but they don't translate well into the game because as far as they have a mixed identity. If you can either buff your party or you can do damage per second with either melee weapons or range. But even the Blade, who is supposed to be a master swordsman, can't even specialize in weapons. He can only just, do the one proficiency pip. That's frustrating to me. They don't get any bonuses to hit or damage aside from levels. They don't get any extra attacks per round like a fighter would. Even if that was at a slower pace, then I think that would be cool because you're giving up a significant amount of your bard, skill and your utility, because you are pretty much never going to sing if you're a blade because you're going to want to be up in the thick of things, fighting and swinging your swords and whatnot.
I've no interest in speaking to the likes of you.
Not a problem. It will be done.
The whole concept of a charismatic character has never translated well into the Baldur's Gate franchise. It makes very little difference. The only time you ever notice anything is a slight change in the prices of of items in the stores, and occasionally you'll get, you'll get a slightly better reputation. Occasionally you'll get a better dialogue, if I remember correctly. But it really doesn't translate into any meaningful changes in the game. It'd be nice to be able to talk your way out of things while still getting experience. Or trick your enemies. All the sorts of things that would be cool to do as a charismatic character.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Excuse me, please let me speak before you attack.
As far as the character I want to take through Dragonspear, I've also been thinking about, in addition to the Avenger, and of course considering making a brand new Shaman, just because I'm interested in what that is. I've been considering, I don't know, maybe a Stalker, because I've never played a Stalker. I considered Archer or Kensai just because I really like doing a lot of damage, but I kind of threw those out immediately because how boring would it be to just, stand there and either shoot an arrow or swing a sword for the entirety of the Baldur's Gate saga. I like characters with utility.
Not a problem. He won't risky. Not a problem.
I would love to see the ability to dual class into Bard, actually. That would be the coolest thing ever. Start as a fighter, go to level 9 or so, and then just dual class into Bard. So you get the bonuses of having a fairly powerful melee character. You can, specialize, or Grandmaster. Let's say you want to do scimitars or katanas. Probably katanas, if you're trying to be optimal. Or you could even do sword and shield, or you can do a bow playstyle. But regardless of that, you'd be able to level up really quickly, regain your fighter abilities almost immediately, and it would just be awesome to have all those bardic high-level abilities while, still being able to do a bunch of damage. The bard's main problem is that he has an opportunity cost to everything he does. He has to either sing and give up damage, and the ability to, cast his spells. If he wants to go up in melee, he loses the ability to safely cast his spells from a distance. Just being a bard, you give up a lot of your high-level spells just compared to a mage or a sorcerer, or even a cleric or druid. Bards level up quickly and they get a lot of spells, but they only get up to level 6. And sure, you can cast scrolls, and that's all well and good, but I don't know, you lose out on a lot of that endgame, just super overpowered damage that comes from the mage high-level abilities, the Abadal, Sins, Horde Wilting, whatever the level 8 spell is called. So that's one thing I would love to see in Dragonspear, a change so you can actually dual class into Bard. I would also love to see the ability to dual class and multi-class with kits. Being a barbarian wild mage, or I don't know, any of the combinations that have been previously impossible.
It will be done. There is nothing I can do, but I must do something.
Of course, it's not impossible because you can either download mods that can do those things, or you can Shadowkeeper yourself a cheaty character, or any number of other things.
You roll your dice.
What? Please help. There's a wasted life at stake.
It will be done.
So let me know if you like this style of commentary when the stuff on the screen is kind of self-explanatory. If you don't, I can always just shut up. I really don't mind doing that either. It's easier, to be honest. But I'd figured I'd share my thoughts on some of the news in the Baldur's Gate world.
It will be done.
And as always, let me know if there's any content you'd like to see me create. Like if you want to see me go through with a party rather than as a solo character, if you want to see me
Not a problem.
play as a certain class that you haven't seen on YouTube before, you don't really know how good they are, and you want me to be your test dummy.
It will be done.
I'd love to hear that kind of feedback. Because I love these games and I love playing them and sharing them, but I mean, if I wanted to just play the way I wanted to play and not listen to any feedback, I just wouldn't upload. I mean, why would I? So I'm really recording what I think the community might enjoy, while, you know, giving it my own, not flair, but I play in a different way than is most common when you Google or YouTube search stuff about Baldur's Gate. Most of the time it's people reading all the dialogue and playing it as a let's play, as a blind playthrough. And for people like me and probably some of you that are watching, that's a little bit frustrating. When you know the game like the back of your hand, you kind of want to see it played in a more optimal way, in a quicker fashion. And that's the way I enjoy playing, even on a blind playthrough. Like I soloed Heart of Winter, and I had no idea where I was going, but I still played quickly. So yeah, just let me know what kind of content you'd want to see in the future. This video is drawing to an end. Thank you for watching,